Alright, what's up, yins guys? I'm gonna do a video for you here today about some thoughts I have here. I don't know if any of yins guys in your area, it varies for whatever neighborhood you might be in. A lot of yins guys, if you ever went into old houses or buildings and that were vacant and busted up for whatever reason, and maybe your friends, or take your friends or girlfriends. I know I have areas, unlike the areas where all your neighborhood where you got all houses and neighbors next to you or wherever you're living. These places I want to talk about where, say you have areas right, all your neighbors live, nobody can get away with that shit there, but say up in maybe an area a little further away, it's not exactly rural, but you go maybe a mile or two down and there'd be like a road. It's not really a highway road, it's just a road that goes up a hill, and then and if anybody lives up there, they're few and far between, but the majority of the houses are all vacant and crap, and for whatever reason they can't sell them. And the different stories you hear, the people are stubborn, they think that the price of that real estate is going to go up and they don't want to sell it for that price. And judging by the goings on that I hear about and seen in the conditions of these houses, if I were some of these people, I probably would have just, if I can sell the place and break even, I'd just go ahead and do it. Or in a lot of cases, because you see how some of these stories, you hear the stories about how some of these places busted up, unlike other places where real estate will sell faster, and then a lot of times people are losing houses. And then there's the work situation. You got the closest place to work, you go maybe Walmarts and stores, and then the industrial parks are maybe 10-20 miles down. In my area, I don't know about some of you guys' area, my area, the stuff that's all close by, you'd have to go in industrial parks further out and do some driving, or whatever, like places I worked, industrial parks and different things. But this area that I'm in is like a dried up steel mill town. So, like I said, you want to go to work, you go to industrial parks and you have to drive a little bit. And if you go somewhere closer, maybe the supermarket that's not as far or something, but if you do kind of work I do, you have to drive to industrial park or take a bus to industrial park. So therefore, depending on the area, the price of the houses ain't very big, and the price of the houses, they don't really sell. Nobody wants to live there for whatever reason. And if they're working a good job in some places that, like I told you, industrial parks or they're further away, or any other line of work, if you have some kind of decent job, maybe the area just nobody wants to live right there. They'd rather live, something nicer, or for whatever reason close to where they're working. And anybody else that lives further in your area, maybe the house was in the family for a while. But anyway, because of the vacantness of the area, that, like, unlike the houses you live in, they're like further out of where people can see what's going on. The police ain't gonna see everything that goes on. People know these houses are vacant even if you put curtains in the windows, if you own any of these houses, unless you maybe rented it out for whatever price, whether irrelevant of your profit or not, rent something out or have somebody live or stay there just so there's people in there, and hope for those people that are in there don't destroy the place, because they get wise that it's empty. Man, it can be a hell of a nice house, might have been just remodeled. Some of these places look like people remodeled it at one time and they were going to try to sell it and they couldn't get a certain price for it, and they become squats for bums and drunks and heroin addicts and different kind of things like that. They break the place up and take copper out of the walls and the pipe and then the wires or whatever. But some of the other places that you go in there and you can tell, yes, they did bums go in there, and you'd see the hypodermic needles laying around and little pieces of aluminum or whatever they use, anything they can get their hands on to cook their heroin and stuff. But you can tell that some of the other damage to the house, other than them ripping the copper out, is like, you can tell if some of it was just they found out it was that they can get away with busting in there and using it for a squat. Or you can tell there's other damage that you can tell that happened before that in some of the places that were distinct damage, or the markings and the signs of drug raids. Maybe people were selling drugs in there or handling drugs or whatever in there, and you can tell, it's the way the walls are, you can tell that maybe the cops did a raid and they just busted everything up, and there was like some clothes that were on the hooks and they're just thrown all over the floor, and furniture just flipped over one side, and you can tell that just the walls were busted and the toilets just ripped right out, and it's like really sad. I mean, you can tell right away which ones that started out it was drug raids, and then after that people went in there and tore copper and pipes out and everything else and all that, and later, and you can pretty much tell, and one or two of them you'd have like some cat or dog that just went there, and just, you can tell, I mean, the skeleton, like a skeleton and a little bit of fur on there. You can tell this cat or dog was just probably laid down and died, like probably come home one day after all this shit took place, like if it was a drug raid or whatever, and the poor animal might have been the family pet or whatever reason. It probably was like, where the hell is everybody? And it was still waiting for people to come home and waiting for people to feed it, and it just, I don't know, just judging by the way the skeleton was there all curled up, seeing shit like that, and but yeah, there was like houses up in, if you were to go somewhere in certain areas of your town that's like kind of apart from the town, and a lot of these places, since they're more isolated, there'd be this like road going up there, and few people still live in the houses, but they're so like few and far between that the police ain't gonna see nothing. People can do damn near anything to the houses, like in the cases where I just said they go in there just to bust it up and steal the wire. Somehow people just, bums and drunks and dope heads, just sniff those out, and sometimes they'll break in there and hopefully people left anything behind, like any kind of valuables or something that they can steal and sell, hopefully. And but yeah, a lot of it I see, and it was like consistent with drug raids. I mean, if you took, say, your girlfriend or your friends, go and walk and look in these places, and really a shame. You know why? Because like if you ever hear or see the stories on TV, or even see out there on the street, all these homeless people out there, people that lost their jobs. I mean, alright, the ones that didn't get homeless because of drugs and alcohol or whatever kind of reason, those people that can use a second chance and don't have no place to stay or live. And then there's people just destroy these houses, whether it's an opportunity, people break in and just destroy the house, like I said, or if they do it in a drug raid, they raid the house, pretend it's somebody's mother's house, and the mother or one family member don't know, maybe the son or the uncle is selling drugs out of the house, or maybe they're doing drug parties or all kind of different things. It's a crack house, and the other older people don't want to say anything and rat their kids out or any kind of thing like that, and their own family, and the younger kids just run the place. And then you can probably see a scenario where eventually they get investigated and the police go in there and they just rip the house out, and you probably figure you might have some old lady or some old widow, heartbroken because the house is damn, just watching the police just tear the whole place up and everything. And it's like, maybe just because, maybe the ballpark idea, what I mean is maybe the old folks in the house, or the old widow in the house, has the rest of the family stay in there, and they don't see what's going on upstairs, what I mean, and all going on under their noses, ballpark stories. I know you guys probably seen about them on YouTube and seen them on the news or heard of a lot of them. That's why it's a shame, to not even bother with drugs, I mean, it's Yeah, damn shame. But if it ain't for one reason, it's the other. You know, if it's the simple thing where people can't sell the house and they make the mistake of leaving it empty instead of just letting somebody live there maybe, or rent it out cheap, just whether they profit or not, just to have people in there and hopefully they don't destroy the place. So people don't see it's empty, you know, and people... some of the neighborhoods, I know some of your neighborhoods, people be doing that shit, you know what I mean? But if it ain't that, it's the situations, like I said, like drug raids. But if you ever had friends explore these houses or different kind of things like that, you ever went in that, or buildings, and sometimes even apartment buildings, you can tell they weren't a bad place to live, you know, with a little work. And if there's anything like a drug raid, it just rips them up, and then people can't afford to just rebuild it or anything, rebuild it or reconstruct it. They end up staying vacant, and then they end up eventually being bulldozed down and shit, you know. And that's well, the one other thing too is, you know, you hear on the news that these people losing their houses, and you wonder too if it's just better, why don't the banks in some cases just let them stay there a little bit longer, and maybe they come up with the money. Some of them probably come up with the money instead of going completely by the book. Because I know in a lot of cases, I'm wondering if some of these banks, depending on the neighborhood, as prideful they are, they're probably stubborn anyway. They see a house gets... If they can't resell the house, they kick the person out of the house, right? Because maybe they need a little bit more time to pay it. And then the house sits empty, and they can't resell it and get what they want for it. And then they end up... people coming into place and destroying it if it stays empty too long. But the banks, they probably know this, and they don't care. They're so damn stubborn, you know, and they probably wish somehow the police would magically arrest the people who destroyed the place. And I imagine there's probably people, you know, other kind of reasons, you know, that the house just conveniently got destroyed. But yeah, in some of the neighborhoods, I do think too, you know, just to finish up my 15 minutes in this video, I think that in a lot of cases, I think even though you signed a deal is a deal, and then you end up kicked out if you lose your job, or you need another job or a lesser job, and get a little bit more time to pay the place. It would have been better off if they let them stay. You know, in some cases they find a job real quick and pay it just late, because people will destroy the place if it stays empty. Like, say if the bank, in some of the neighborhoods, the bank can't damn sell it. I know a deal is a deal when you sign on the line, you know, but some of the houses that get destroyed in that manner, you know, because they stay empty too long, instead of letting the people, just giving them a little bit more time, I think it's the banks, it's their own damn fault. You know what I mean? When you see it that way, it's sad to see what happens to the houses. But when you look at it, in one point of view, you gotta wonder too if some of the people, if they just had a little bit more time, you know, and let them stay a little longer, I think they would have been better off. Because it the bank ends up losing money there too, because the house, they end up kicking the people out of the house, and then the house sits empty, and guess what? It's like, it seems like bums and dope heads and different people just sniff them out, you know, use it as a squat, break their windows, use it as a squat for, you know, drinking and shooting up whatever, or heroin or whatever. And they need drug money or money for booze, you know, they rip the copper out of the walls, rip the wires out, and if there's copper pipe, they rip that up and just literally destroy the place, you know what I mean? And on some of them too, like the landlord rented to the wrong people because they lied about everything, and somebody ends up doing the drugs, and they get busted up in drug raids too. But anyway, yeah, I'm just giving you the basic idea, you know what I mean? Some areas and neighborhoods, the people profit because they just resell the houses, but other places, when they can't sell the houses, shit happens, you know what I mean? Couple different scenarios there. But all right, that's it for this video.